Okay, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we have kind of a short one, but we're working on something I've been pretty excited to get my hands on for the past couple of years, and I've kind of neglected to like really get any updates on this thing over the years, and that is Brian's Macro Cab Ram50. You guys probably remember this truck from a few bits and pieces over the years. Originally, this car sat in my driveway years ago at my old house, and we had plans to do a turbo G54B in it, and then it moved up to the shop where Mike got his hands on it, and he planned on doing a turbo G54B, and then I think Jake got it back, Mike got it back, and then it finally ended up in Brian's hands where he finally put an engine in this thing and got it running. So what did you do to this thing? Because this is definitely not a 4-cylinder.
Well, it's 2 4-cylinders. Yeah, it's a 5.2 Magnum out of like a Dodge Dakota or something, so like a 318. Just a cheap junkyard motor, basically.
You have what trans?
NV 2500 5-speed manual.
Nice. Heck yeah, kept it a manual, threw a V8 in this thing, got it running. It's been running pretty good. There's a few shorts of this thing where we were just kind of ripping on it, and she spins tires pretty good, but yeah. It's got an open diff, and there's a little bit lacking in the power department. So we have a plan to change that today. Today's goal is to put this crap in it. We got a comp cam, a 535, 531 valve lift. It's got 110 lobe separation, so it should be a pretty choppy boy.
I hope so.
Yeah, it should definitely help wake this thing up a little bit. And then obviously you got the corresponding valve springs for it.
I mean, just looking at it, the lobes on it do look pretty fat.
Yeah, she's a little bit on the higher than the mild side, that's for sure.
Yeah, that should make it sound right.
Absolutely. On top of making more power, it should sound pretty damn good as well. So
yeah, that one tire don't know what's coming.
So we have a little bit of work to do before we can throw the cam in. Brian was out here the other day working on this thing a little bit. You can see he's got the valve covers off, got the intake manifold off, got like the harmonic balancer bolt out, drained some fluids. So we're pretty much ready to just hop into things. It should be a quick and dirty day today. So what are your next steps here?
We're gonna pull that harmonic balancer off, get the front accessory drives all off there, and then start disassembling the valve train and pull that cam off.
Perfect. So let's yank all that stuff off so we can get at this cam, and then Brian bought some tools so that we can hopefully change these valve springs out without pulling these cylinder heads off. That's the name of the game, is to keep
less work.
Yeah, keep it easy for us today. That's what we want. It's early on a Saturday, long work week. Don't want a lot of work. So let's get a few things off, and then we'll take a look at where we're going from there. Alright, so for disassembly, this is pretty much as deep as we're hoping to get on this. What Brian is doing right now, he's gonna tighten this crank pulley down, and we're gonna try to get this thing at TDC. So basically you can see we've got a dot, well maybe you can't on camera, we got a dot there, and we got a dot on our crank pulley or our crank cog down here that we want to line up. That will signify top dead center and make sure that everything is in time. Engine was running before with the distributor timing and everything else, so
yep.
Want to try to get it back to that so that we can disassemble everything from there, make sure again we're at top dead center, and then we should just be able to move forward.
And then later on, when I have timing light, I'll check it, but I forgot that, so we're gonna go by ear.
Yeah, we're gonna do a little greasy today, but it'll work. So.
And I got my nice spacers right there.
Oh yeah, nice little crank spinner handle thing.
Oh yeah.
Yes, just like that. So dot. They are in time now, so should be good to pull this bolt out, pull this gear off. That will move our chain and our cam. Since this is an overhead valve engine, not an overhead cam engine, the cam runs directly through the center of the block right here.
Well, we got to disassemble the valve train, take the tray out of it, and then make sure our lifters aren't gonna fall inside the engine.
Yes, fair.
Because then you have a bad time.
So now that we've got our timing set at TDC, we have our distributor pulled out. Our next goal here is to get these rockers, push rods, and lifters pulled out of the engine. Like he said before, you don't want those lifters falling into the engine. Would definitely be a bad day for sure. Pretty easy to pull these out. You got a bolt on the top that holds the rocker down. Pull the rockers out. Push rods just pull right out, and then I believe the lifters have a little like, what would you call this that holds your lifters in place?
Trying to think of the actual name of it. Fords, they call them spiders, but
it's this whole plate.
Yeah, it's just like a retainer plate. It uses these little cast pieces right here to keep the lifters from rotating. That's why they got flats on them.
Oh, sure.
This is a roller lifter engine, not a flat tappet, which means we don't got to do a cam break-in really, because with a flat tappet, you got to do a pretty arduous cam break-in. Otherwise, you could have problems with wiping out a lobe or destroying a lifter, and then you spend a bunch of money for nothing.
Yeah, shit. Cool, that means we'll pretty much be able to put this thing together and see the results as soon as we're done.
Yeah, it's gonna be stroking out pretty soon.
Hell yeah. Good old clutch drop on the bolts.
Oh yeah, neutral drop and electric ratchet gives you a little more power. Point in wearing out that trigger, stopping. Not matter where they go.
So what Brian is doing right now is we got everything else out. We can't take the actual lifters out without pulling the cylinder head out, and we don't want them to fall in. So he is basically just lifting each one of them out to make sure that they don't fall in. And they're pretty tight. I mean, they've been in there for a while, so
carbon deposits and oil sludge.
Yeah. Just so that you can kind of get an idea, since we were talking about it before. On the top of these lifters, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to show this super well.
You can see like a little roller on there. See it? So it's got a roller, and then that rides on the lobe. That's why they need to stay straight, because you have like this, you're gonna have problems. They gotta ride perfectly straight. So it's pretty much like the alignment on your car. You want that thing tracking straight.
Exactly. So hence the name roller lifter. So we'll get the rest of these popped out of the way, pull this gear off, and we should be able to yank this cam out. Yank the old factory lobe stick.
Yeah, the fuel injection cam in a carbureted engine. So it should run better.
Hey man, a cam is a cam is a cam.
Timing set.
There it is.
One stick.
There it is. The old cam out. And then this is, like Brian was saying before, this probably is the most necessary, but try to lay all your stuff out so it goes back in the original positions. I don't think any of this stuff is necessarily like clearanced.
No, not really. Honestly, with a roller motor, the valve train clearancing is fairly loose because the lifter does take up some of the slack. You preload them.
Yeah.
The reason I like doing this is because it's an old motor that has some miles on it, and those parts are used to being in that position, and I don't want to make them unhappy.
Fair. Yeah. Treat your engines with respect, and they'll respect you. So, just good practice. Find yourself a clean surface, lay everything out in the order that it came out, so it can go back where it came out of.
Sure as shit looks like a camshaft. Clean all the shipping lube off this thing, because you don't want to run it with that film coating they come with.
Yeah, they ship it with like a fluid film on it.
Yeah, so you want to clean that off with some brake clean or whatever, and then you want to put assembly lube on it. I'm a fan of more the merrier, but you don't need a lot.
Yeah, it's one of those a dabble do ya cases, but it also can't. It's not like a crank bearing where too much can hurt you.
Yeah, no. As soon as you fire it up, it'll fling most of it off, anyways. That's another reason we're not doing the oil change right now. We'll allow the assembly lube, and there's probably a little antifreeze in there. Get circulated, and then we can drain it out. Otherwise, when we do our oil change, it's just going to be nasty stuff in there.
Yeah.
You're worried about, but a little bit of speckling, like rust speckling, should clean up. But see, it's
Crazy to see on a brand new cam.
parts today.
Yeah. All right, I made it awkward.
Oh yeah.
The good stuff.
Get a nice thin coating on everything. This is way too much. Yeah, I'm gonna have to wipe some of this off. This is too much. Even been a while.
Got a little overzealous there.
Oh, for sure. It'll just be more extra.
Yeah,
Or,
a little extra layer of safety.
yeah. Alright. Now we'll lube the rest of it up with much less.
Yes.
And there's already oil in these bearings and oil in these lifters, so this is probably hardly even necessary, but
Hey man, better safe than sorry.
yeah, this is an expensive piece of shiny lumps. Let's see if I can do this with no bolts. Probably not. This is always the hardest part at the end. Hey, look at that. We have a camshaft.
Yeah. The shiniest thing in this engine.
Yes. I don't know. The way I drive it, she don't got no carbon on the pistons.
There you go. Cool, so there's our new camshaft. So the next thing we gotta do is knock out these valve springs. Generally with a higher lift cam, you want a stiffer valve spring.
And in factory applications, even though they're weak springs, they may not have the clearance for the lift. And then you'll have problems where the valve spring collapses too much, and then you have problems with breaking lifters, push rods, valves. And I know all this from personal experience.
Fun.
It was not.
Yeah.
I broke a valve in half.
Oh my
The
god.
piston fired it back up into the head, and it kind of stayed there.
Do your valve springs, kids. Definitely an important piece of the puzzle, but we got them right here. Ooh, it's a beehive. I think that's what this is called, a beehive spring, or yeah, maybe just a
It's got a-
conical spring.
Bunch of names, I'm sure.
Fair. Where's the part number? It's that spring. Cool. And then he bought I'll call it a specialty tool here to actually do the valve spring with the cylinder head on. So this will be the tricky part, is to make sure that similar to Will's car, we don't want the valve to fall into the combustion chamber when we do this.
Instead of a piece of rope, we'll be using part of a compression gauge to pressurize the cylinder with air. That way we don't drop the valve into the cylinder and then sad.
Yeah. Have bad day. Then we are pulling cylinder heads off. So this is the other way that I was talking about in the last video, that you can stop the valve from actually falling into the combustion chamber. So basically, like he said, using half of a compression tester, we're actually going to pressurize the cylinder. With the valve closed, pressurize the cylinder will stop the valve from falling in, because the seat, in theory, should seal the valve closed. So
We'll get the cam in there and everything first, get our timing in place, because we're gonna have to rotate the engine, because when you do it this way, you gotta put the piston all the way at top dead center. Otherwise, it'll shoot that cylinder down and rotate stuff. So you wanna make sure you have everything together that rotates. Otherwise, you're gonna have stuff skipping and going places you don't want it to be.
yeah, good. All right, so while we were doing some reassembly here, getting our cam and crank sprocket and timing and all of that put back together so that we could turn the engine over to pressurize those cylinders like we were talking about, we noticed a slight difference in the cam to our factory cam. If we come over here and we take a look, you'll see there's this little space, this little ledge right here.
About an 1/8 inch of a raised section on there.
Yeah, and that offsets that cam gear and pushes it out and gives the cam gear something to push on so the cam doesn't move back and forth. Simply kind of like a thrust surface, if you will. This cam does not have that. So when we tighten this bolt down in this washer, it allows the cam to move back and forth, which obviously we can't have.
No, because if it moves all the way back, it's only, the lifter's only riding on about half the lobe.
Yeah.
So this camshaft's made for early and late model engines. So it's supposed to have like a fuel pump eccentric, that's why it's like that, or a spacer to eliminate that. I have neither.
So we're gonna get a little creative here. We've been online kind of searching for some parts. We couldn't find any fuel pump eccentrics local to us that we didn't have to like order on Summit or Jegs or something. So we found a solution that we think might work. So we're gonna run to the parts store real quick, pick those up, give her a test, see if it'll work. If it does, we'll move right on. If it doesn't,
it's gonna be sitting for a week.
Wah, wah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be a bad day there. But another thing that we did notice is that this gear or something is a little different with this cam than the cam that we pulled out, and that is causing firing order to be one off. So we'll have to move our plug wires around to get our firing order back to where we want it to be. But first things first, we got to make sure that our cam's not going to jostle back and forth on us while we're driving this thing down the road. So
10,000 RPM.
Yeah, yep. So we'll run to the parts store real quick, see if we can come up with a solution for this, and then move right along. I'm confident, so
we'll shim it.
We'll shim it. We'll make it work. Yeah, maybe grab some washers or something. Well, we'll figure it out. But we'll go grab those, and we'll come back with our solution and show you what we came up with here. That's awkward.
Yeah.
All right, we are back from our little excursion. After trying a few different things and buying a few different parts from the store, we came up with a bit of a solution. So, like I was saying, the idea is we needed to get some kind of a spacer between the washer and the gear itself to stop the gear from moving back and forth on the end of the camshaft, eliminating any kind of play in that pulley. You don't want that pulley to move around.
No.
Yeah.
You need to have the actual cam pulley tight to the back of the cam, because if this walks around, it's eventually going to either loosen up that bolt or eat up that woodruff key, and then you're going to have problems, either eat up the crank or timing set falls apart or off skips timing when you're ripping down the freeway, and that's a write-off for your motor right there.
100%. All that needs to be tight. So we found a kind of a spacer stack, and sorry I neglected to film actually putting it in, that space that washer to the actual cam gear. So we are good there. Now we can move along. So now, since we can turn the engine over by hand, everything is timed where it needs to be, we can move on to pressurizing these cylinders and pulling out the valve stems, or excuse me, pulling out the valve springs, if you will. So
valve springs, and we do have valve stem seals.
Yes.
So, and we also got the retainers and keepers and everything, all to work with our conical valve spring.
Perfect. So we're gonna find TDC on this first cylinder here, get our compression tester apparatus pressurizer thing set up.
Pressurizer.
Yeah, there you go. And we will pull these first two valve springs out. And they're just to address the elephant in the room, better ways to make spacers for that. But what we had on hand, we used. What we could find, we used.
The way it is.
The correct way, I believe, is to use something called a fuel pump eccentric, which is like kind of like a spacer with an offset hole that is actually designed for this. But we could not find one locally, and this guy kind of relies on this car running in order to get to work. So
yeah, it's either that or they do make deletion kits. It's like a stubber kit. It's just a piece that goes over the snout of the camshaft.
Yeah. Which ultimately, at the end of the day, it's serving the same purpose. We Loctited that bolt. The bolt can't come out. As long as none of that can walk around, you're really not going to have any issues with it. We did a bit of research before running out and buying the stuff, and plenty of people have made way more hokey setups than this, and seemingly works just fine for them. So I think we are off to the races.
Hopefully.
All right, so the way that this works, the way that our valve spring puller tool works, you can see all the components here.
Yeah.
First,
we might need to modify it a little bit. China. We'll see if that's skinny enough.
Yeah.
If it ain't custom, I don't want it.
Absolutely. Needs to be more custom. Back to the grinder we go. We'll get this all settled up. We'll get all this tool put in, then we'll try this again. Okay, so after a wee bit of ingenuity here, we got our tool in. So when he tightens this bolt down, it's going to compress the valve springs so that we can pull the keepers out. But before we do that, he's gonna go ahead and pull the spark plug out, and we'll get some pressurized air thrown in that guy.
Yes, sir.
And that's gonna hold our valves up, so.
Motor ain't smoked.
Yeah, assuming the valve seats are, you know, doing their job. Which, you know, they are.
Give me the thing, dang it.
That's a healthy plug.
It's actually running pretty good. I feel like something hit it. I'm not even worried about that. Hardly even worth worrying about.
Yeah. It's fine. It's fine.
It's not coming through the intake. Maybe a little bit. This engine probably would not pass a leak down test very well.
So what's likely happening is the keepers are a little frozen, so it's actually depressing the valve while we're trying to take them out. Just from, you know, being in the same spot for as long as they...
Yeah, carbon deposits just being there forever.
Yeah. So you're gonna try to tap them, break them loose a little bit. We want the spring to compress without taking the valve down with it. So we'll work them a little bit. We'll beat on them. We'll maybe get this first set done, and then we'll hop back on the camera once we
figure it out.
Have a process. Okay, so we ran into a slight hiccup here. Try to explain this as best I can. So we went to drop in our new valve springs here. We noticed that upon installing our keeper here, that if you can see, I don't know if on camera it'll pick up really well, how there's 4 grooves in the inside of this keeper versus how the factory one has just 1 groove.
And dirt. Don't forget about the dirt.
And dirt. Yes. Sorry for the compressor. Let me come out here. So, unfortunately, the new keeper has no way to grab onto the top of the factory valve. So, either it needs different valves or it needs different keepers. Keepers would likely be the easiest solution. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna throw the stock springs back in and reassemble like our push rods and everything and turn the motor over by hand. Basically what we need to make sure is that the factory spring won't fully collapse to where the spring will bind when the cam rotates. He has a similar setup with a similar cam in it that does still retain the factory springs. So we're fairly confident that the factory springs are going to be fine for the application. He mainly wanted to do the springs just for extra insurance, but it's one of those things where if it doesn't work, we don't want the springs to hold up the project. So we'll get it reassembled with the factory springs, test it. If it tests good, we'll go ahead and throw everything back together with the stock springs, and he will just pick up a different set of keepers at a later date that we can swap in. Springs, all things considered, with the proper tools aren't the worst things to do, as long as we don't have to pull the heads off, because obviously that means exhaust manifold gaskets, cylinder head gaskets, intake manifold gaskets, things like that we'll likely need to pick up as well, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So we'll get everything put back together, factory from here, and then we'll see what's up. All right, we got our factory valve springs back in, so let's throw the rest of the valve train back together, and then we can do our rotation test to see if these valves will bind or not. They won't. Everything is good. Everything is fine. The valve, these are actually factory performance valve springs in this 5.2 Magnum, so they're not, but you know, that's what we're saying. So yeah.
Anything that's seen what this motor has can be considered performance.
We'll get it all put back together here in a flash. Give her a test. All right, I lied. We're only gonna do one cylinder because if this doesn't work, there's no point in putting the rest of them back together just to take them all back out. So we're gonna rotate the engine and take a look at what these springs do on cylinder, whatever that cylinder is.
Cylinder that one.
Cylinder that one, yes. Boy, they are close.
It's got a gap though. So the exhaust side is fine. There's a gap. It's close. But
Talk about flying by the seat of your pants.
yeah. We'll see what it sounds like when it's running. I'm assuming it's gonna be a rattly son of a bitch.
Yeah. Yeah, with
Yeah. Here's the thing, that's not any worse than the Ranger is. And the Ranger's been running like that for years. A lot of hard miles on this.
hey, as long as it's lumpy,
It's gonna be lumpy, I can promise you that.
we're good. So a little bit of gap in the springs, we're looking good there. So now we will throw the rest of this together. And she's back together, almost. We don't have a cooling system in it because we want to try to start it before we fully put the car back together. But everything it needs to run is there.
Yep. We're gonna just turn it over first.
Yes. So this is the moment of truth. Make sure that she turns over good and that this cam setup is going to work with the factory springs. Sounds fine.
It's a little tight, I don't know. We'll see.
Turn the sparkulator on.
We're about to find out.
Here we go.
Sounds good.
Absolutely.
Alright, let's put the radiator in so we can drive it.
Cool, yeah. We'll do a little bit more adjusting, throw the cooling system back in it, and take it for a drive. Back together and running. Sounds good, man.
Yeah, it sounds pretty healthy.
Definitely chopping a little bit more than it was.
We'll see how she goes though.
And you got the new wheels on here. The TRD specials. Oh God. Way to interrupt a good scene, Brian. What's going on?
Oh, sorry. Not sorry.
Dude, yeah, no, those look good.
Yeah, I think they look pretty good on this truck.
Yeah, no spacer and the offset just being right is kind of wild to me.
Yeah, and then it's got a little bit bigger tire in the back than the front.
Oh, they're staggered, huh?
Yeah. So you got 225, 5517, and 215, 4517 in the front.
Good. Nice. Looking good. So, once he gets his throttle cable all put back together, I want to bring the tools to fix that in case that happens when we stop somewhere.
The only reason it did is because I was whacking the throttle under the hood. So then it put too much slack on the cable inside the truck. So
Sure.
well, I just put it back on with my hands.
So what he's saying is it's not going to happen again.
It's fine.
It's fine. Let me roll my window up. Oh.
Fell off. And it's the one from over here.
Moment of truth. Ah, man, this thing is sick. Hopefully you can still hear me. Oh yeah, that felt better. Holy moly.
I was confused.
Is this my car?
Like, just a cam did that, huh? Yeah, it definitely pings a little though.
Yeah, I can hear it. Yeah, ignition timing is a little off. We can definitely feel that. So we'll have to adjust the good old Dizzy. But all in all, it definitely feels punchier for sure.
Yeah, I'm just trying not to rev it too high with these valve springs.
Yeah, I don't blame you there. We'll fuel up, fuel me up, be back on the road. All right, here's our moment of truth. Better than it did before.
That was third gear.
That was third?
Yeah.
Yes. Quite. Well, after those pulls, what are your thoughts?
It's pretty good. Pretty good.
I'm so bad at filming driving, I have like no idea where to point the camera. I'm just like pointing it that way.
Well, over there, maybe over here.
I hate that steering wheel.
Nice.
Oh god. Not the bend. Yeah, the seatbelt works fine. Yeah, I think it's sick.
Yeah.
Built rad. Well, I'm sure happy. How about you?
Yeah, for sure.
Heck yeah.
It runs strong.
Yeah, runs very well. So Brian's gonna do a quick oil change on this thing to get the assembly lube out of the system that he put on the cam during install, and probably ride it for a little bit. Obviously, it would have been nice to be able to get some valve springs in this thing. I do believe that is your plan once you have the correct parts.
Yep, once we got the right keepers. But for now, I mean, it runs, it revs decent. Like, I didn't feel any valve flow. It's just a little noisy.
Yeah, and I mean, everything that we just did was under wide open throttle, it seemed like.
Yeah, most of it was half throttle, actually.
Which is pretty impressive, considering that you spun through third.
That was more than half.
Well, for video's sake, we'll say it was half throttle. But yeah, it's doing really good. So that's probably where we're going to end this video, seeing as that we really can't do too much else. No point in filming an oil change. So big progress. Definitely on the correct path to making more power.
Yeah, next thing, valve springs and clean up the engine bay, because it needs it.
Yeah.
It's a mess.
Could definitely use a bath, that's for sure. Chose the wrong time to eat this Twix bar. But yeah, that's going to do it for this video. If you like what you saw, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. See everybody next time.